There are many themed coasters at Universal Orlando Resort, and in this episode we're going to pit two of them against each other for another versus episode, and the big fight is Escape from Gringotts versus Revenge of the Mummy. This is episode 447 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm your host Lee for this Versus episode, and joining me to debate these two attractions is my good lady wife Tracy.
Hello, I am ready.
And Chris.
Bring it on.
Now Michelle isn't here because daylight savings time.
Yep.
I'm just going to say that.
Yep.
So replacing Michelle is someone who we've been meaning to get her on for quite a while at this point, and it hasn't quite worked out, so I will introduce Kelly.
Hello, everybody.
Kelly, where are you from again?
Originally Southeast Florida, but I live in St. Louis, Missouri now.
Okay.
And as you know, I like to have 5 people on this because it stops any ties. It's much easier. It's much cleaner. And joining us for the first time on the podcast, to Chris's chagrin, is his lovely fiancée, Alexa. Hello, Alexa.
Hey.
My better half.
A much better half, and you know, I love you, Chris.
I'm definitely the much better half.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm like the worst half of everything, so it's okay.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
See?
So, we've done 2 of these episodes already. If you haven't already heard them, we did Universal Studios versus Islands of Adventure, and we have done Halloween Horror Nights 25 versus Halloween Horror Nights 29. So, to give everyone an idea of how these work, I have broken each attraction down into 5... Attraction.
Didn't you also do a Harry Potter one? Didn't you do Hogsmeade versus Diagon Alley?
Yes, we did.
Or did I make that
Yes,
up?
we did. How bad is it when the listener comes on and shows me up? Yes, you're right, we did.
That's what I was thinking about all day. So
It's
Kelly,
okay,
you come
Lee.
again?
I asked last week if Sapphire Restaurant was open, so...
He did.
Yes, you're right, we did, because it was with Megan, Miss Wizarding World. You're right, of course it was.
Oh,
So yes, we've done 3 of these. Thank you very much. I've broken it down into 5 different elements. We are all going to openly debate each element and decide which one wins for each element. And by the end of it, we will have a definitive winner.
And
And
an
I like
elephant.
these because I think everyone has, if you asked someone that question, which do you prefer, you would probably come out with an answer. But then when you break it all down, the answer you give at the end might be different from what the one you like the most. But anyway, I'm not going to throw you under the bus
just
quite
yet.
just yet,
Yeah,
Kelly.
I knew that was coming.
because I've already done the list of in order. So unfortunately, you're getting thrust in second, I'm afraid. But the first topic we are going to debate is the entrance facade. Chris, you first
Okay,
up.
thinking.
All right.
We were
I would
literally
say-
just there
I
yesterday.
know that. The brain has to work a little bit. Escape from Gringotts. Yeah, I would say Escape from Gringotts. You have, which I think would be part of the facade. You have the dragon, right? Are we considering that part?
It's tough, isn't it? Because the entrance is kind of round the side. But yeah, I suppose it is.
Right, because it's in the ride. So you kind of assume it's part of the facade. So that alone right there is like steals the hearts of everybody that walks into that place, and they might not even ride the ride. And then you have the, I still stick with that. The dragon alone does it for me. I mean, the entrance of or the facade of the mummy is nice, but it's, you know, it was retrofitted to it.
Yeah,
The Gringotts one was built from the ground up for it. So
that's a great point.
there's only so much you can do when you retrofit unless you knock everything down, which technically is not retrofitting. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point, that is.
What you guys are listening to right now is my brain actually talking. It's literally thinking out loud.
And melting by the sounds of things.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Welcome to my life.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Kelly, you're up next.
Also going with Escape from Gringotts, although I do really like that. I don't know if this would be considered part of the facade or not, but that the mummy has they're not scare actors, but characters outside with the stilt walkers. Yeah, I think that's cool. I have and this will definitely come into play later, but I have very sentimental attachments to the Mummy, but I'm also a huge Harry Potter nerd, so this is going to be really hard for me. But my family just happened to be at Universal opening weekend-ish of the Mummy back in 2004. And so I'm trying to like separate my emotional attachment to this ride from the like subjective what is good about it. But I mean, there's very few facades anywhere that could beat Gringotts, I think, one way or another. So I'm definitely going with Gringotts.
I'm next on the list. Yeah, it is an easy one because the Mummy's a strange facade. Like Chris said, it was completely retrofitted from Confrontation, and it doesn't really fit in New York. It fits with the storyline of the Mummy, if you know what that is, and I don't think many people actually do anymore. But as a facade overall, it does kind of stick out a little bit when you look at where it's supposed to be. It's a little weird. Like you look at something like Race Through New York with Jimmy Fallon, fits perfectly into the area it's in, whereas the Mummy doesn't. And then you look on the flip side of that, something like Escape from Gringotts, which is it's the forbidden journey of Diagon Alley, that whole street is geared up to the weenie, to use a Disney term, at the end of the street is Gringotts Bank. So I don't think you can say anything else other than Escape from Gringotts as far as the facade goes. Tracy?
Yeah.
Now you say that the Mummy doesn't fit. So you're saying that New York doesn't have any museums or theatres?
What is it? Call me out.
No, it's called a debate, dear.
You're debating yourself, not me.
I'll berate you. And, I really like the entrance facade to the Mummy, but it sounds stupid. I'm a huge history buff, and buildings like that. I know it's just a facade, but buildings like that, they do make my blood fizz a bit, for want of a better term. Now, obviously, there originally were two entrances to it, but now one is the locker rooms, and it's warm colours. It's inviting, and because it's set back as well, it gives you a massive, I don't know how to describe it, because it's like a bowl, if you like. It doesn't matter which angle you come in from, you can see it.
Okay. Yeah,
so if you come from the left, you get one view and into the gift store as well. If you come the other way, you have what's now the locker rooms. So you have there's plenty of things going for it in that, whatever the word is I'm looking for, respect. And then Gringotts. So I have a photograph actually from, I don't think it was open. I think they were still building it.
What?
Diagon Alley.
Right.
We were there. And we stood on the ramps, the exterior ramps of
Simpsons.
And I've got a photo of the dragon from there.
That'll have been 2013?
Maybe.
Yeah, it will have been.
Jade was small. So, you know, you walk into Diagon Alley, you go through the bricks, and it's there, front and centre. Big dragon on the top of the building. Iconic. Yeah, the entrance to Gringotts is just that little bit more. You know, I just wanted to give Mummy a bit more love.
You wanted to show Chris how to openly debate an attraction.
And I just wanted to show you up as well.
You've done a good job at that.
Always.
Sorry, Chris. You know.
No, the Gringotts is straight off the pages of the book. You know, it's everything you want. Brickwork and a dragon that breathes fire.
Of course.
Well, sometimes
it's just not when we're there, apparently. But anyway,
you know. Yeah, I mean, even though the entrance doorway is actually quite nondescript.
Very.
I'm still going to go with Gringotts.
Okay. Alexa?
So, like for me, I personally would go with the Mummy for the facade. But for me to actually pick the Mummy, so we were there a couple days yesterday, and we tried going into Gringotts Bank, and to get inside of Gringotts Bank is like hell.
Yes.
If
true.
anybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Would that also be a part of what you're asking?
I mean, if that's how you feel, then yes, I suppose that's
she's bringing in ease of use here.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I would pick the Mummy over Gringotts Bank, 100%. I mean, I love the Mummy. It's such a nostalgic, movie for me. It brings me back, the whole front of it. I mean, I know that, you look at Gringotts Bank and you see the dragon and it's so beautiful, but there's something about the Mummy that I just absolutely love, and I would go with the Mummy. And obviously the outside queue kills it for me for Gringotts. It's such a pain, I would do the Mummy all day.
Okie dokie.
Looks like we found our wild card.
Sorry.
Try and never be near the Mummy when it switches over from the regular queue to the virtual queue, because I got stuck there in December right when they closed the regular line and opened virtual queue. And it was madness, like absolute madness. So never be around the Mummy around like 10 a.m. on a busy day when they're implementing virtual queue still, because it was chaos.
Good tip.
It's crazy because, I think of that when we were trying to get in Gringotts Bank, and I mean, that little area is so clustered. It's so bad. And even just trying to get to a team member, you have to go through people, and then they're just sitting there and they're taking pictures. And that to me kills the facade. Like as much as I love looking at the dragon and I love, the ride and everything about it, it just, that right there makes me never want to go on the ride.
Fair
That's a
point.
good point, actually.
Very fair. Yeah.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Alexa, but your vote means nothing. Gringotts won. So moving on,
Perfect.
and speaking of queues, that is the next topic we are going to debate, which has the better queue, Mummy or Gringotts. And Kelly, you are up first. There's a noise. I love that noise.
So, again, attempting to extract subjective information out of all of my feelings, including the feeling of standing in the sun in the Gringotts queue for hours on end. I think I'm probably going to go with the Mummy on this one for overall queue experience, just from start to finish. Feeling like I've had a couple experiences with Gringotts that's like hours in the outside sun portion, like 42 seconds through the beautiful bank, which I never have any time to spend and actually look at what I want to look at. Blaze through anything that looks cool, get stuck in the long hallway, which is cool, but unless you're stuck there. Blaze through the elevator. The elevator is amazing. Are we counting the elevator as a queue or a pre-show?
Yeah,
what are we?
That's technically you come out and still queue at the other end of it, so I would class it as part of the queue.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the Gringotts queue has really cool elements to it, and I mean that when I'm in the bank, I'm in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm there. And the elevator is a really cool piece of tech that I haven't necessarily seen before to that extent. But overall queue experience, like the Mummy queue is amazing. Like I said, I was there really close to opening weekend, and they had actual characters in the queue. I don't know if that's something that I made up, but there were like mummies popping out of different places, and it absolutely terrified me back then because I'm a big scaredy cat. But like just how cool that was, and I love the Mummy movies, and so I also felt like I was in the movie there. And so overall queue experience, I'm going to go with the Mummy because from start to finish, it feels like a very complete experience where even though I'm not necessarily, the story of the queue is kind of wonky, but once you get inside of the like tomb itself, it's just fun.
I really wish I wasn't next up because this is actually harder than I thought. Because, Kelly, you are right. I remember, Tracy, the first year we went, 2004, going through at Halloween Horror Nights, and we thought it was a Halloween Horror Nights thing, and apparently it's not. But there were scare actors in the queue line when we did it. We've only ever seen them that once, mind.
I've never seen them in there.
Yeah, it's
so
cool.
I don't think I ever saw it again after that first summer.
Yeah, it was
That's interesting. I didn't even know that they did that.
Yeah, like say we put it down to being at Halloween Horror Nights, but obviously not. Gringotts, the outside, the extended queue is horrendous. If you get stuck in there, it's just ugh. But that bank is amazing. But then beyond that, we've said this before when we did Hogsmeade versus Diagon Alley, and we were talking about like Forbidden Journey and the queues for them too. Forbidden Journey's queue is far superior to Gringotts. You take the elevator out and you take the bank. There's nothing else because once you get past the main lobby area, it's just wooden corridors that are boring as hell. And then, like, queuing up a stone spiral staircase for hours on end is horrendous. The Mummy has the cool interactive element in it. The problem is if you go from bright Florida sunshine into the Mummy queue, you cannot see a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the I remember doing the Express Pass queue in February last year and literally went through 90% of that queue and did not have a clue where I was going because it was pitch black. Having been to Egypt and being, quite interested in Egypt, the pair of us, a lot of it's very Egyptian in there with the big what's he called? Anubis, yeah, and stuff. And then obviously, I'm going to class the team members who give you the thumbs down and stuff as kind of part of the queue. It's not necessarily on it at that point.
Oh, yeah.
The storyline of the queue is wonky. I don't think anybody knows what the hell it is at this point. But I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and how can I don't believe I'm going to do this, but I think I have to agree with Kelly. I think I have to say overall experience is the Mummy queue.
It hurts, doesn't it?
It really
but
does.
It's true.
Tracy.
Yeah.
You're up next.
Okay. Well, Gringotts, as we said, the bank, the foyer with all the goblins. I mean, everything from the tiling on the floor to the chandeliers to the scary ass animatronics. That room is stunning. Less so when you are in the maximum switchbacks available and you're in there for an hour.
Yeah.
But the attention to detail in there is unbelievable. Yeah, the elevator. It's I've never been in anything like that before.
Closest thing you've got to Men in Black, but it hasn't got the screens around the top, has it?
And we've had that spoilt by bad team members enough times. It's just it's fantastic, that elevator. And like it's been said, other than that, it's boring corridors, which are stop, start. Yep. You've got your rooms with your set piece scenes and things, but that's probably why it's stop, start. And then you've got the huge flight of stairs to nowhere, really. And that's about it for it. But in the Mummy, it's like a whole journey, which it literally is a journey.
Yeah.
And there's also your nods to Kong still in there.
On the hieroglyphics, yeah.
Yeah, and even the hieroglyphics. Just thinking about it now, I don't know why I haven't stood and looked, because there's hieroglyphics in there. Those hieroglyphics probably say things.
Probably.
There's probably nods to
team members
and creative and stuff like that. So I've just slapped myself mentally. Like I say, all the interactive elements. It even smells like you're on a dig site.
It's kind of like me and Kelly have just said there. It's that little bit of Horror Nights during the day, kind of. Even if they haven't got the scare actors in, it has a Horror Nights feel to it.
Like, I can believe that there's something around any corner that I go down that I'm not expecting.
It's also one of those queues you tend to find a lot of people will take it upon themselves to be scare actors when they're in it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, come ride with me.
I get bored in the Gringotts line. In this one, I don't, because we're always looking at something or doing something or whatever. It's Mummy. I could go on forever, Mummy.
Alexa.
All right.
I know what Alexa's going to go with, or is he showed a hand?
So the Gringotts Bank is nice. I mean, you do feel like you're inside the movie. Inside the bank. I love how much attention to detail that they did do in that room. I do love the effects in the room right before you go actually into the elevator. It's so interactive. But like you said, Lee, it's just a long queue. Yeah. I mean, it feels empty in some places. So I am going with the Mummy. I feel like I have a connection with the mummy. So Chris and I did the tour inside.
Yes.
And the guy that we had was just so phenomenal. Like, he went through every single prop and article and everything that was inside that queue. He went into details of where it came from, or even so much to the point where when you first walk into the mummy and you look up, that noose that hangs almost killed someone. Was it, I forget who exactly it was, but there's so much detail and so much actual like props from the movie that right there, the queue kills it for me.
Okay, I did not even know there was a noose in there.
Yeah, when you look up, there's a noose. And Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was one of the guys, the stunt double or something, but they almost like killed themselves because they got stuck on the noose or something.
Yeah, that noose is actually used in the movie. You'll never see it unless you did the tour, because you'll never look up.
Okay.
Right when you walk into the doors, look straight up, there's a noose hanging right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
But a lot of the props and the costumes and all the paperwork and all that stuff is actually from the movie. So that right there is just,
That's cool.
Like I said, it kills me. That queue is just amazing.
Well, not that it matters, Chris, but go.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but for the same reasons basically everybody said, I would go with the mummy. And I'm talking about especially in its like prime time, right? You had all the rooms. There's a whole story that's being told to you. The guy that's inside the ride is the same guy who gets abducted in the videos. That's why he's wearing the same hat as the production crew.
Yes.
Like there's a really cool, they put a lot of detail into this. Unfortunately, like you said, because they've nixed off some of the rooms, some of the video doesn't get played, you don't get the full story. But it's a lot of attention to detail inside of that queue. And there's a lot more stuff to do and see. There's a lot of touchy pieces inside of the, is it the pyramid room, you would call it?
Yeah, with the like sort of weird little pyramid thing in the middle.
Yeah, like, two people got to put their hands on the little palm thing at the same time in order to activate.
I was just thinking that.
Is it closed off at the moment? It must be blocked off, is it?
No.
Really?
So can you bypass that? I don't think you can you?
Did you, when you did it at the weekend, did you go through that room then?
Yeah.
I definitely went through the room in December. I can't remember if there was any like signage saying don't touch anything.
There's definitely, that's being used. I could not tell you the same thing if it's been, I didn't touch it, but let's just pretend that that's not a thing and you could touch it, right?
Yeah.
That's an awesome little, thing in there. You got the little square where you put your hand into and then the air comes out and scares you and all that kind of stuff. And, it's a really overall like great queue. Obviously Gringotts, super detailed, but not as interactive. And, it's the mummy hands down on that one.
How many other queues in a ride do you know that has an element where you can scare the crap out of someone else, like 200 yards down the queue?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Like there's never been done, as far as I'm aware, in any queues.
And that's over 15 years old too.
Yeah.
Like that was truly one of the first like meaningful interactive queues.
Very true.
Yeah.
Universal are very innovative. Like we've said this about ET. You look at the ET queue and it was a themed queue before themed queues were a thing.
Yep.
Cool.
Just tell you the story before you get on the ride as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we are going to take a quick ad break. It seems early because we've only got through 2 topics, but I think it's a good place to end it because we're currently 1-for-1 at this moment.
Ah.
It's currently a tie. Gringotts won Facade. Mummy has won the queue. So when we come back, we are going to talk ride story. This could be an interesting one. So we'll be back in a second.
Have you taken a stroll down Diagon Alley and visited Gringotts Bank? Taken a ride through New York with Jimmy Fallon? Visited the truffle trees in Zeus Landing or hung out with a real-life Transformer? No? Then what are you waiting for? At Universal Orlando Resort, there truly is an option for everyone. Or if you're leaning a little more towards pixie dust rather than ones and portions, Disney destinations around the globe await your arrival. No matter the adventure, our sponsors have you covered. Be sure to let the experts at Mouse and Muggle Travel Company take care of all your travel needs. Earning the distinction of being an earmarked agency specialising in Disney destinations, as well as becoming one of the first to be named a You Preferred agency with Universal Parks and Resorts vacations. Mouse and Muggle Travel Company will ensure you receive top-rate customised service. Just visit mouseandmuggle.com to fill out a non-obligation quote request, or send your request to info@mouseandmuggle.com. Their team can take care of you no matter where in the world you go. With a flick of their wand and a little bit of pixie dust, the process will be so seamless, some might even say it's simply magical.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here discussing which is better, Escape from Gringotts or Revenge of the Mummy. And coming out of the break, it is 1-1. And moving into the next topic, which is story, and of course it's me, so I have to lead the way. This one is an absolute no-brainer for me. We've already kind of talked about how the story for the Mummy ride isn't what it was, because half the queue's missing now and they don't play a lot of the videos. But I think even when it was a little weird. It doesn't fit in with the aesthetic of what Universal Studios Florida is now anyway, even if it was still fully in the queue. So you look at something like Gringotts, which, as a huge Harry Potter fan, for them to create an attraction that is a story within the story that you already know is kind of like, so we know that Harry, Ron, Hermione and Warwick Davis, I can't think what his name is at that point.
Griphook.
That's the one.
Griphook?
Yeah. That's how much of a Harry Potter fan I was. I can't even remember the name. They break into Bellatrix's vault. So while that's going on, you're over here doing something else. To do a story within that story, I think, is phenomenal. And that's what I love about what Universal does with their attractions. Like, every attraction is based on a film or a TV show, but they don't just do the Disney thing where we're just going to do a step by step. Here's the story of the film. We're going to do something completely out of the box. And for me, Gringotts takes that to the next level. So without a doubt, every time I would say Gringotts wins it on story. Tracy.
Mummy.
You always do that, don't you? You say a word and then go,
Mummy. Gringotts.
I always find it's difficult when you do these because everyone influences your decision. Every person that's come before you influences your decision.
You know how I feel about Gringotts.
What, the riders? Yeah, you don't like it particularly.
I liked it better last time we rode it. I appreciate it a bit more.
It does get better every time we ride it, I think.
The thing is, I can't even use my usual excuse of Gringotts is stop, start, because so is the Mummy.
We're talking story at the moment. Don't jump ahead.
No, but it's the story is piecemeal on both of them. This is tough because, as I say, I do have I wouldn't say greater appreciation, but slight more appreciation for the Gringotts ride. I am actually wondering if it's because last time we were there, I was wearing contact lenses, which was a vastly different.
Did you wear contact lenses last February?
Yep.
I don't remember you having with them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I wore them most of the time. And it vastly changed things for me. Trust me.
I need to have a look through our pictures now.
We met Blake. I've got no glasses on. Oh my God, this is how much notice my husband takes of me.
Oh, if Blake was there, my attention was on Blake, not you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, story of my life. But the Mummy, it's got it's like that whole storyline. It's very near and dear to my heart. And it's been, like, for us, it's been there since the beginning. I don't know. This is really hard.
I didn't want it to be easy.
You never do.
That's the point.
Well, I'm actually going to go with the Mummy.
Of course you are.
Because when I think about the storyline and everything, it gives me warm fuzzies.
Okie doke.
So there.
Alexa. I already know what Alexa is. I might as well just fill all hers in now.
So, like you said, Lee, Gringotts Bank, it's a story within a story, right? So you immerse yourself in this bank and you feel like you're an addition to Harry Potter, like that whole story. The Mummy, I do love, and I think his name is Reggie, the guy with the hat.
Yes.
The red hat. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I do love that whole story, when you're getting onto the ride, as you're going through the queue, you're learning everything. And then when you get on the ride, it's that whole thing continuing. However, you're wrongly.
No,
I'm going to go with Gringotts Bank. Only because with, the queue being cut off and you're not always able to get that entire story before you get on the ride to understand. Yeah. I just feel like Gringotts Bank, like you really are a part of that entire story. So I'm going to go with Gringotts Bank.
It would actually be quite interesting to ride the Mummy with someone for the first time and say, like, obviously go through the queue, ride the ride, and then go, what's the storyline of that attraction? And see if they could actually tell you what it is.
Yeah.
I agree. And I only reason why I feel like I'm attached to the Mummy again is because we had, somebody walk us through and explain everything. Yeah. Because when you're standing in line, you're just reading things on the board. Sometimes you may not catch that. So, I'd love to ask somebody as well, like, what do you think about that? Do you know what was going on?
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I am surprised. Christopher?
Mummy. Gringotts.
Deja vu.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Mummy. I mean, for all the reasons basically said. I just think overall it takes it from Gringotts.
Really?
I have even though I want to say Gringotts, but I'm just more leaning towards, I guess, maybe a better connection to the Mummy than I would with the Gringotts, even though I love Harry Potter. But I think they do a better job over there.
Okay. Interesting.
So, yeah.
Kenny, that leaves you in a very interesting position because it is 2-2 at this point going into you.
Yeah, it does indeed. Again, as much as I love the Mummy movies, I have to actively remind myself that the ride is not supposed to be me riding through the Mummy movie. The ride story has this kind of convoluted, you're in part of it and, in and out and things like that. And so if I think about the Mummy ride and forget all of that, it's kind of like I'm riding through the movie, and that's cool. But Gringotts definitely takes it for me on this one, being the Harry Potter fan that I am, and also just a fan of when a story, we can see a different side of a story. Yes. Or like, I love things like Wicked, where you get the story from another person's point of view or things like that. And so I love thinking about that. My attachment to Harry Potter was to the books well before it was to the movies. Yeah. So even more so thinking about the characters in general and what would it be like if we could read this from Luna's perspective or Ginny's perspective, things like that. And so I really love the story of Gringotts being told from characters that we haven't necessarily seen and characters that aren't necessarily in the forefront, and what was going on behind the scenes, like where was Voldemort during this part and things like that. And so Gringotts takes it for me.
I agree. So Gringotts takes the story. So moving on, Tracy, you first up, so pay attention. This one's a difficult one. I'm going to clarify this. So it is, you're voting on the two of them on non-screen-based effects. So not the coaster ride itself, any effects that take part or take place inside the actual attraction, not the queue, the attraction that's not part of a 3D screen.
So environmental effects.
So if we're talking about, say if you're doing Transformers versus the Mummy, which I shouldn't give this away because we're going to do this at some point, but like the ladder at the beginning of Spider-Man is a non-screen based effect.
Did you just say Transformers versus the Mummy and then talk about the ladder in Spider-Man?
Spider-Man, didn't I?
No.
Did I say Spider-Man?
No.
Did I say the Mummy? I'm having a night tonight, Anna. Spider-Man.
See what I have to live
The
with.
ladder.
So basically environmentals,
Thank you,
props,
yeah.
that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, but not the actual. You're not talking about the coaster or the ride vehicles, because basically that comes next. So Tracy,
Yeah.
non-screen effects.
Right.
Please go.
Okay. Well, considering I can't think of any in Gringotts, it has to be the mummy, so there you go. That was easy.
Oh, that's bad, by the way. Oh,
I thought it was quite good, actually.
there we go. Right, Alexa. It took me longer to explain this section than for Tracy to come up with an answer.
So, with Gringotts, the only thing that I can honestly think of that's not screen based would be that section when the coaster is going through the vaults. I really love that.
Yeah.
Just that attention to detail is great, and I always try to peek at the vaults to read the names on them. So I really like that. But like Tracy said, there's really not much to base my opinion on, so I'm gonna go with the mummy. Obviously, in my opinion, way more effects. I mean, I love entering, and you have like the fire and those statues that come up, and alone, like Chris and I got stuck in the fire room.
Yep, he talks about it all the time.
Die. Yep, exactly. but that alone, like you felt that you were honestly, literally a part of the ride. So yeah, definitely the mummy.
Okay, Chris. So I'll just put mummy
So
down
I
for everyone.
think there's more than just that, right? In Gringotts. Let me see. I'm writing to do it right now in my head. Take your 3D glasses. Get online.
This is going to take a while.
No. Yeah, there's not many in Gringotts. I do like the one when the fog kind of comes up to block the path to when the coaster's about to take off again. Like I think that's a really cool effect.
Yes.
Because it does block the area where the screen's coming like down so that you can actually go through there, and that's real cool.
Yes, it really is.
But yeah, the mummy just has so many more effects in there. I don't know if you heard, but I got stuck in the fire room once.
Really? This is brand new information.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Do tell us
more.
You have so many there. I mean, you have, I don't know if this counts. Like even I like the way they do it in the Beetle room.
Yes.
Like, I think that's a pretty cool effect because there is a physical aspect to that.
Yeah.
You have all the fires, right? Do you have water there?
Yep.
Bit of fog.
Yeah. So they use the universal trifecta in that ride. Water, fire, fog.
Yeah.
And I think overall, like they just hit it in every area, and it's also done in multiple spots too.
Yeah.
It's not just all hit, in the front or in the middle of the ride. It's kind of spread evenly throughout. So my vote is for the Mummy.
Of course it is. Kelly.
Is there not fire in Escape from Gringotts when you're going through the like cave part? Did I make that up?
Not that
From
I can
Voldemort.
think. Oh, no,
That's
I think
a fake
it's just
fire, though.
fog, though,
Is
isn't
it?
it? Yeah, I think is it not fog lit by like a yellow light?
Something like that. I feel like I remember something that I appreciated when I went on Gringotts the first time was how much there was when you're going through those caverns and tunnels that is not part of the ride. Like you can see other tracks and things like that. And I thought I remembered that there was some sort of either fire or like fake fire effect in there, but I really could have been making that up.
And that's it. And the fact that you're having to question yourself about it says it wasn't that effective.
Yeah. I also really love the fog effect when the screen opens, but if it doesn't work, that's a really bummer moment of like just this panel sliding open of like, oh, I think that's where I'm gonna go next. So
I hope the dragon's butt.
Yeah. And I think like still being in Florida when the Mummy ride was going to open and all the promotions that they did of like, it's going to tap into your worst fears and things like that. And then, I mean, right out of the gate with the Mummy, when you pull into that treasure room and that fire is so intense and so close to you, it's like, oh, like I'm in danger right now. and it doesn't stop the rest of the time.
No, agreed.
And so, yeah, as much as I love the fog effect in Gringotts, I think the Mummy takes this one pretty handily.
Again, my vote does not count, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I think Chris hit the nail on the head perfectly. When you talk about a universal attraction and what is part of a universal attraction, the Mummy has all of them. Mist, fire, water. Chris, you asked where the water splash was. The fake stop, when the glass breaks, the water splashes the glass spraying out at you.
Fake stop in the Mummy?
Yeah, you know the fake stop when you think you're at the end of the ride and then
oh yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And the glass shatters and Imhotep's behind it. Yeah, that's where it is. So you want to talk about fire, water, fog. You've got Reggie the animatronic. You've got Imhotep the animatronic in the sarcophagus. You've got the statues in the treasure room, like you said, the Beatles. The kind of an animatronic in the fake stop room. It's like you just need to stop there. And so, sorry, Gringotts again. Does that have fake fire? Maybe. It's literally just got nothing. Like, yes, the section at the end when the screen opens up with a fog. And I think the first time we rode it, that fog didn't work. And it's like, there's a big gaping hole in the screen there. Guess where we're going? It really does let it down if it doesn't work. And I think if any of the effects on the Mummy don't work, it doesn't take too much away from it. Whereas if that one does on Gringotts, it really does spoil that attraction, especially with it being the finale point of it as well. I mean, there's no competition between these two as far as non-3D effects. It's the Mummy all the way. And that takes us into our last one. And at this point, it's worked out very nicely, because they are both on 2 points each. So recounting back through, Gringotts won the facade, Mummy won the queue, Gringotts won the story, and Mummy won non-screen effects, or environmental effects, as Tracy wanted to call it. And moving forward,
Shut up.
the last one we're going to talk about
Spouted.
the overall coaster experience. So not including the screens, just the actual coaster ride itself.
Right.
Alexa.
The Mummy, for sure. When I think of a coaster, so I do love Gringotts' story. I love the coaster aspect, but I hate pauses. I think with the Mummy, it's just a more high intense. I mean, you're looping around, you're going through, hard corners, it's in the dark, you have lights, and just the overall atmosphere of that coaster and feeling that, I think, is way more intense for me than Gringotts. I only feel like that oomph in my stomach is in the beginning when you have that tilt and you go down. Other than that, I feel like it's just more of a softer ride for me with all the pauses. So yeah, I think the Mummy takes the cake on that one for me, for sure.
Chris.
So Gringotts, I think, is overall, it does, as a ride, it tells you a new story. It has really cool, kind of coaster aspects to it, right? Because it's not just a traditional locked-in cart that just goes forward or wherever it sends you on the track. It does have the the moving, the tilting, all that kind of stuff, and it really takes it to a different kind of coaster. With that being said, though, it feels like it needed more of that. I don't think you need to compare thrill to thrill, but it does feel kind of short-lived on there. I think they focused more on telling you a story than it being more of a thrill ride. And the Mummy, if I had to go to the park and there was one ride left to do and I had to pick between the Mummy and Gringotts, we would do the Mummy every time. Just because it's telling you, you're going on an adventure, you're getting a story told to you at the same time. You're also riding this, really fun roller coaster that blows wind in your face to make you feel like you're going faster than you're not. You have, all the cool effects, and it does actually give you that, sensation in your stomach of a roller coaster, especially on the launch. I mean, who doesn't love a good launch roller coaster? So for me, it's gonna be the Mummy.
Okay, this is actually more difficult than I thought, because people are sort of talking about things, and it's putting the thing make me think about other things. And yeah, Kelly. Again, love those
That's a new
noises.
sound.
Do I have to pick?
You do.
This one is so hard. Oh gosh. So again, I feel like the Mummy was the first kind of coaster like this that I had ever been on. Like, I'd been on some Disney coasters and things like that, and it doesn't really compare to like Rock and Roller Coaster. It's very, very different. So this kind of story coaster was the first time I'd ever been on anything like that. I think there's parts of the physical coaster that have not aged well on the Mummy. Like, I slammed my knee really hard at the I thought we were like going through the wall with the bugs in December. That's how hard we stopped. Like, I thought we physically hit the wall.
Mhm.
That's the Darren stop.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Always.
We had that last time with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the launch, but there's pros and cons that come with the coaster portions being so dark. In the Mummy, so like the thrill of not knowing where you're going most of the time and things like that. But I feel like those parts of Gringotts are also the parts that I do really like to look at. All the different parts of the vaults, like that you can look up and see so much above you, and you can see things as you're whizzing past it, which I know is, again, not part of the physical coaster itself. With Gringotts, I really love the part where the suit of armor like grabs your car and like twists you one way and then shoots you around the other way. That's a really unique effect
really
for
is,
a roller coaster to be, facing one way, then facing another way, then like swung back and having this like centrifugal force kind of blow you around right back into another coaster section. And so I feel like even though the actual amount of, speed time that you have on Gringotts is smaller, I think I'm going to go with Gringotts. I mean, I'm actively making this choice as I say it out loud, but
they're the best ones.
I love the Mummy, but like if I could have just like 5 minutes straight of Mummy coaster and 5 minutes straight of the coaster part of Gringotts, I think I'd like the effects of Gringotts more. So Gringotts.
Okie dokie. Me next. Now I have to be honest here, rather than going, I could send this and leave it to Tracy to make the final decision on not just this, but the entire debate at this point. But I'm going to be honest. Even the tiniest coaster makes me slightly nauseous now. And the Mummy does. I always worry going on it now, is this going to make me ill? But we're talking about the actual coaster element at a time when it doesn't make me ill. I think right at the beginning, it's a dark ride. For the most part, the first minute or so, you go through and you go past the sarcophagus. Yep. You go past the sarcophagus, slowly into the treasure room, and then you go, and then you back out, and then you go into launch. So that first bit's very slow. And then you have the launch, and you sort of get off, and then there's a little bit, and then you stop. And then if you're going to class the fake stop, is phenomenal. Never seen another attraction that has a fake stop in the middle of a ride.
It's great.
Like anywhere. I've never heard of that anywhere else. And then you've got that bit, and then a little twist and turns, and you're pretty much at the end. The coaster elements of both are very, very short. To go off what Kelly said about Gringotts, the cars themselves are very innovative because it's like 2 rows of 3, is it? But they're completely independent. So the 2 banks rotate themselves. So there's be a certain point where if you start in the front row, you end up in the back. Or like in the middle kind of at the end, because you've got that twist as you go around, like when the knight, whatever they are, the suits of armor spin you. And then also the bit with the trolls. You're talking about a coaster that interacts with the 3D screen. It's like that next evolution of something like Spider-Man, where you're kind of interacting with the screen in that. So when like Electro jumps on the front, the car moves. You're talking about something interacting with you and actually pushing you down to an actual drop. But as far as like the actual coaster, there's no section on Gringotts I find that's as intense as the Mummy, which for me, I tend to find a little bit better. I have come round to Gringotts a lot over the last few years. Now we've finally sort of took it out of Forbidden Journey's shadow a little bit and appreciated it for what it is and not as a successor to Forbidden Journey. I really enjoy Gringotts, and I think given the choice between the two, I think I will probably ride Gringotts, to be honest. I enjoy the overall experience more on Gringotts than I do the Mummy, so I'm going to go Gringotts. Not just to be contrary, and not just to get to a point where, Tracy, you get the deciding vote on the entire thing.
Oh. My turn then, is it?
Yes.
Well, dear, guess we're having separate holidays in future.
Oh, Tracy's riding the Mummy.
I do not have a kid's belly. And I could ride... I ride these rides day in, day out. I just go round and round and round and round and round. It's Lee that stops us every time because...
I know, so put it this way, right? When we went to SeaWorld in February last year, we rode Mako twice. I'd had enough and they went back on it a third time. And I sat and went, I don't feel very well now.
If we weren't meeting
Tyler and Jessica,
would it have been round again? Mind you, that's a ride.
It really is. Yeah, you can't compare that to the Mummy.
That's real intense.
Yeah. I'm normally a hands up all the way around girl. It wasn't until coming back in that my hand that I ungripped.
Off topic, but that first drop is like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm always hands up, and that one, my hands were up, and I was like, nope, they're going down. Yeah. I'm holding on for dear life.
Yeah. Why am I here for a third time? Anyway, back to the subject. I agree. There's some nice effects on Gringotts. You know, the interactivity of the ride vehicles with the screens, the environment around. But it never gets started for me. It's like you have that drop and it's like, wait, hang on. I was just getting settled into this drop. I haven't even had a chance to think, ooh, drop. And we've leveled out again.
Yeah.
It's a kid's ride to me. And don't get me wrong, I like kids' rides. But I like proper rides. I like my proper courses. And I know that the Mummy is stop, start, but the ride portions of the Mummy are actually way more intense. And I just like it more. I'll be honest.
Fair enough.
I'll ride Gringotts for you, but if you weren't there, I wouldn't.
Oh, right.
The things I do for you.
Okay.
But no, I'd ride Mummy all day long. So yeah, I'm choosing the Mummy.
And there we go. By a vote of 3-2, the Mummy wins coaster experience and wins the entire vote. It was closer than I expected it to be.
It was hard.
I'll be honest. So yeah, going through it all in total. Gringotts won Facade, Mummy won Q, Story was Gringotts, Non-Scream Effects was the Mummy, and then finally the overall coaster experience was the Mummy. So thank you everyone for joining. I love these debates. They're really good.
Yeah,
thank you,
they get
Kelly.
you thinking about things you didn't really think about.
And that's it. And everyone brings up something different that makes you look at it a slightly different way and go, I never thought about that. And it's the best ones are the ones when you're halfway through debating it and you're like, I still have no idea which way I'm actually going to vote at this point.
Yep.
And you talk yourself one way or the other.
Or when you think that you have one firm idea in mind and then all of a sudden you find yourself saying the opposite thing and it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah, you start second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
Thank you, Alexa.
You're very welcome.
I think you went far too kindly on Chris, to be honest, because he was crapping himself when you came on and you didn't really rib him at all. All eyes were on
I'm
me.
disappointed.
Chris, awesome as usual, sir.
It's good to do that. It's good that I didn't get
Chris was a little quiet.
Did you lose your words?
Yeah, I didn't know where to go with that. So.
But of course,
thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's not a problem. I'll see you back here next week. Of course, that is going to do it for this episode of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast as we move ever...
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, sorry, Tracy.
It's all right.
Jesus Christ. Thank you, Tracy.
This week too, Tracy.
Yeah. Too little, too late.
Oh, balls.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Look, I've said it's been a long, long day.
Just because I don't like Gringotts, you don't have to punish me, you
I'm
know.
not punishing you for
Jesus.
anything.
Well, we also know that Lee tends to forget things, birthdays.
His wife, in fact, he's married.
I don't forget. Trust me, I do not forget that. Anyway.
Wait, he's forgotten birthdays.
No,
Who
Producer's
reminded you?
Club
Oh, right, I was
birthdays are
gonna
what we're
say.
talking about. I don't forget your birthday. I can't. That is going to do it for this episode of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, as of course we move ever closer to our 10-year anniversary. So I am going to plug it again. Don't forget, everyone, we will be recording our 10th anniversary episode live on Facebook with video. That will be April the 5th, which is 2 days before our actual anniversary. It will be live on our Facebook page at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is 10 p.m. for all you UK viewers.
Viewers?
Well, they are going to be viewers, aren't
yeah,
they?
That's true.
Users, yes. Users. For those of whether I left that in last week or not, you might not have a clue what Chris is talking about right now. We are, of course, going to end the show with another Universal Is. So Alexa has kindly offered to supply our Universal Is this week. But, of course, if you want to help wrap up the show in the future, all you've got to do is tell us what you think Universal is in 3 words or less and get it to us however you can. That's email at podcast@uopodcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or carrier pigeon, as Tracy always seems someone wants to send it, or owl, since we're talking about Gringotts, we'll throw that out there.
Speaking about pigeons, by the way, I saw a photograph of a baby pigeon. I've never seen one before in my life. Now I've seen a picture of a baby pigeon. That's
Okay,
it.
random.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll take those Universal Ises and we'll end the podcast with them. But for now, Alexa, it is over to you.
So, Universal is my life.
See you next week, everyone.
Guess that wraps things up for another unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. You guys did all right. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest, keyword UUO Podcast. Listen and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere podcasts are found. You can find our blog at uuopodcast.com. Send us your spews, which Lou gets your poo recordings, questions, or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, and our awesome sponsors, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company. So, until next time, don't give up your day job. Say cheese. See you later.